What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Formula Room at Formula 7 Studios. Now, I am here. I'm excited. I'm trying to hold my excitement back because I am with the man, the myth, the legend himself. But I'm going to let him introduce himself because I feel he's a very he's layered onion. There's a lot of stuff we could peel back here. Tell the people who you are, my friend.
So yes, my name is Raul. I am originally from Mexico, grew up in Texas, spent most of my life in LA too. I'm a music producer, entrepreneur, and recently just became a web developer. So interesting background. You
I
know?
love it, man. So thank you so much, first and foremost, for sitting in on the second episode of the Formula Room. This is where we're going to start talking and just peeling back the layers of the music industry, talking about the creative event space and like what photographers can look forward to coming to Formula 7. But I want to really take this plane on a ride. Like, we're really going to talk about some cool stuff. All right. So I don't know. I'm not as diverse with like famous people, like knowing them. And I feel like that sets me apart. When famous people come to the studio, I'm just like, hey, what's up? I treat them just like everybody else.
Yeah.
And then people will be like, do you know who that was? And I'm like, yeah, probably somebody famous, but they're a human being too, right? I feel like you got plenty of those stories of people that you have met during your journey. But tell me a little bit about what it's like to be you in this music industry. Like, I know that you've grown into this person and you now have a lot of accolades behind you.
Mm-hmm.
What's it like now looking back and being like where you came from to now?
Oh man. Well, first of all, like I'm very similar like you. I don't know who the artist is in the room until like later on. I'm like, oh, that was that person. Looked them up on Instagram. I'm like, damn. Oh, actually I'm happy that I don't know that the artist is famous because that helps me just focus on the product, on like the song. Because a lot of the times when I go into the studio and I know who is gonna be in the studio, I get like a little nerve, like
Mm-hmm.
I just start feeling like nervous. And when I feel nervous, I can't concentrate on creating music. I'm always thinking about like, oh, like is the artist comfortable? Like, am I gonna mess up? Am I performing or something like that? So when I don't know who the artist is, I'm just like, cool, like you sound dope. Oh, I have this, and it floats so much better.
Mm.
But it wasn't always like that. I started when I was 10, like back in 2000, I think 11. And I started because my mom gave me a small little laptop. So it's been a long road for me because I wasn't always like that. I was just some random kid in the middle of Texas from Mexico. And now, till working up to this day and seeing my journey, I look back and I'm like, wow, this is crazy because in Texas there's nothing to do.
Mm-hmm.
I come from Grand Prairie. I don't know if some of you might know where Grand Prairie is, but if you don't know where Grand Prairie is, it's like 20 to 25 minutes south of Dallas, Texas. And
Oh, like in between Austin and Dallas.
no, it's southeast. Yeah, southeast of Dallas, Texas, from
Oh,
downtown.
okay.
So it's back then it's a very small like little town, probably like 200,000 people only.
Wow.
But now it has grown up like a lot. But back then, 15 years ago, there was nothing. It was like just a couple schools in there, high schools, middle schools, a lot of grass, literally just dry grass everywhere you look at. Cows, um, little convenience stores every here and there, but not too much to do. So me growing up in that environment, I actually was just talking to a friend from Holland like lately, and another one from Sweden, and I asked him, "Why are you so good at making music?" And he's like, "Raul, if you have to be in your house like 95% of the time, what do you think is there else to do? You just go into your room and just make beats, make music. That's why we're so good." And I was like, that makes sense because like I don't want to say I'm like the best producer, but I know that I'm somewhat good. And it all leads back to that. Like, I was always in my house, like not doing much because there's nothing to do in Texas. So seeing that, all the way up to this point, like looking back, it's a crazy transition because now I'm in the studios with the biggest, names in the industry. Like last month, I was with Belinda in the studio,
Mm-hmm.
and Joel de Leon with CNCO, I've been lining up a lot of sessions with everyone in the industry. I don't want to mention too many names because
No, I get you.
they're gonna be like,
Nobody come after
they're
you.
coming up with an album like, and I'll mess it up, spoil it for everyone. But no, it's crazy, looking back and then seeing the transition all the way up to this point. It's pretty crazy, and it's inspiring and it's motivating because I know I'm on the right path.
I'm sure there's a lot of people like watching you or maybe follow you on social media that are just like, man, like I can't wait to like, get to that point. And I'm sure you put in a lot of reps to get there. And I feel like that's what makes you unique when you're dealing with artists. I feel like you have a perspective that you could share to an artist that's outside of the studio environment, maybe decided to record at home or on a laptop or whatever they had available. And then now they're coming to see you in the studio. Like, what's one of the things that you probably see from artists that you're like, they got to get used to when they get into the studio to really create? Like, is there something that you coach them through or maybe give them some advice?
So a lot of the, it's actually, so I don't work with, humbly, I don't work with just anybody in the studio because I'm very particular on, who I bring, especially because of that. Most of the time, 9 times out of 10, when I'm with an artist, it's the artist is being brought to me either through a really, really close friend that they vouch for them, or through a label, or like my team management, or like something has to be really close.
Yeah,
it's not like artists hit me up. A lot of artists actually hit me up on Instagram, or when I go out to networking events. Like last time I was at this Warner event and I met 2 artists and they wanted to collaborate and stuff like that, but I usually don't take those sessions because sometimes they're a little too green, and you do have to coach them a lot. And one of the things that I see, like a mistake that I see them do the most, is they go into the studio with this mentality of like, I have to get a song down no matter what. So like it's interesting because I was just talking to this other girl too. Like I just had a session with this girl and we were like, she was like, "Oh, if we're gonna go to the studio, we're gonna sit down and like we're gonna make a hit." And she had this mentality of like, "Oh, I'm so worried because I don't know what I'm gonna sing. I don't know what I'm gonna create." Meanwhile, like I'm just like having fun, like looking at my phone, like relaxing and everything. And I'm like, "Why are you worrying about so much?" She's like, "Oh, I gotta get this song down. Don't worry. Like, stop thinking about that. If we're gonna go into the studio, into the room, just go in with the mentality to have fun, and then just be prepared to leave out whatever you want to say in the studio. Like, don't think about a topic. Don't think about the type of beat we're gonna be making. Whatever comes out, whatever feels good at the moment, just put it out. And if that turns into something else, good. But if it doesn't, then it's okay. Like that's one of the things that I still like. It still shocks me from like so many artists that they're always trying to get a hit when they go to the studio, and that stops their creative process so much. Because think about it, it's so much pressure. Imagine if you're like half couple writers or a really good producer looking at you like, "Oh, I gotta perform." They get this anxiety and they're like, "Oh, I gotta look good in front of the producer. I gotta look good in front of the other writers or the engineer." So they have this rush of anxiety. I'm like, I gotta perform. That's one of the worst mistakes I've seen. Like with
it's so crazy because like I'm sure they're nervous and they have a lot of anxiety because studio sessions, yeah, they're affordable, but sometimes they can get expensive, especially when you're multiple hours in the studio. So I feel like a lot of artists may go through like a process where they want to be perfect. They want to make sure they get some return on the investment of being inside the studio. But in my like experience, like I don't come from the production side. I come from like the artist development side. Like I like to help people develop and grow and like understand some of the behaviors that they need to do to achieve goals and stuff like that. I specifically geared to podcasting, so that's why we're kind of doing this podcast thing, right? But I feel like when people get in there, they get in their own heads and they're like, "Man, I'm putting this money down. I don't want to waste it." And then they psych themselves out. When in reality, like I preach a lot where you just want to follow the path of least resistance. It's like if you're riding a wave. If you get too anxious and you're trying to just jump on any wave, you're going to fall every time. But if you just relax and kind of let it go, and then you ride with it, it'll come. Like you'll like what you're talking about is creating a state of mind where you're going into a studio with the goal of creating, not the goal of let's make a hit.
Yeah.
Right? So I feel like that journey is beautiful in itself. And you're humble for even like going down the journey of like having all these people hit you up and be like, yo, can you work with me? Can you work with me? Do you feel like in Miami there's just a lack of talent development? Like what's going on that artists are just too green before they get into studios?
Yeah, it's not that they're too green. They just humbly, there are not that many good producers and engineers.
Okay.
Because look, I used to work with this kid.
Talk your shit, bro. Talk your shit.
Oh my God. Look, now that I'm so happy that you said that. I used to work with this kid. I won't say his name.
Yeah, he's a kid, so it's not
So,
good.
if he actually sees this, he's gonna know who he is. His mom came up to me and he's like, and I was just talking about this to this other girl earlier today for lunch.
Yeah.
I was like, his mom came up to me and he's like, Raul, I would love for you to work on my kids' music. I heard that you're a great engineer and I heard you're a great producer. You make everything sound good. And I was like, sure, like I'll take a look. And the only reason I took a look is because a friend of mine brought him to me.
Uh-huh.
A really close friend of mine
Like
from LA,
referred.
like referred him to me. So I'm taking a look at this kid, and then the mom is like, I'm gonna stop by the studio this day. This was back when I was in LA. I'm gonna stop at the studio. I'm gonna show you my kid's work. And sure enough, she shows up the next day with her phone and like an aux, and she's like, "This is my kid's music. Oh my God, I'm so thankful for the opportunity. There's been like 10 producers that have said no to me," and I'm like, 10 producers? I'm like,
I'm number 11.
Like this kid is gonna be like pretty hard,
Garbage. Yeah.
pretty bad to work with. Anyway, so she hits play, and I'm like, oh my God. In my head, I'm like, oh my God, this is pretty bad. Like, I was a little concerned of like not delivering, with my work. She plays me the songs, and I'm like, this is very bad. Like, I'm not sure how I'm gonna do this. But then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna help you out. I told the kid's mom, I'm gonna help you out. Like, bring your kid this day, and let's see what we can do.
Uh-huh.
Man, I made a miracle out of that kid. So that back to your point, that question, it's not that the talent is green. You don't need to be like the most talented artist. You don't need to have like the craziest voice. You just need to have a good team and a good engineer on your side. Just that. Because I turned that kid, like literally at the end of the session, the mom was like, oh my God, Raul, this is so crazy. She wrote me a check, like a really big check. She's like, you're going to cut my son's vocals from now on. I don't want anybody else. We're going to do it with you. And, going back to your point, this shows that all you need is like a solid either producer or someone that knows how to work around what you got. That's it. In Miami, it's a little interesting because a lot of people call themselves producers, but in reality, they're just beat makers. Mm-hmm. There's a difference between those two. A beat maker is someone that just sits on the laptop and they just create loops, beats, vibes, instrumentals, and that's it. They send it out to, I don't know, an A&R or another person who is connected to an artist and so on. And if they like it, then a producer steps into the equation and he's like, okay, we're going to get this specific songwriter. We're going to get this microphone. We're going to get this room and we're going to do it like this. He glues the whole thing together and delivers the track to the label. Oh, wow. So there's not a lot of producers in Miami. There's not a lot of good engineers. So it's not like that the artists are green. Most of the time, yes, they are. But I've turned so many things from like being really bad to being really, really good. And that shows that you only need an engineer, a really good one.
That's crazy. So I didn't know that a producer does that. Like, I honestly had the mentality that a producer mainly put together the beat and like the vocals and stuff.
The producer does. And the majority of the cases, they do put everything together. But people in the industry confuse producers with beat makers. Oh. So beat makers, they only make beats. So they get on FL Studio or Ableton.
Yeah.
That's all they do with headphones and boom, out, like printing beats, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
a producer gets into the room with the artist and a songwriter, and they start talking about like, how are you feeling today, Angel? Like, tell me, what's the story that is moving you? Oh, well, you know what? I just met the most prettiest girl. Like, I feel good because I feel like I found the one. Okay, dope. Tell me more about this. So they start writing the idea, the concept down, and then boom, they create a crazy good concept for a song. They have the songwriter right next to to the artist. The producer coordinates, talks to the songwriter. Hey, he likes this. He's feeling this way. Can you go into the booth real quick and throw me some melodies? Sure. She goes into the booth, starts throwing melodies, and the producer gets those melodies, starts putting it together, and then after they, layer the foundation, like the backbone of a song, then they start writing. So that's what a producer does. A beat maker just makes beats. They don't know how. 9 times out of 10, I guarantee you, they don't know how to record. And if they do, they just hit play and record.
Wow.
That's it. And I tell you this from self-experience because I was that kid. Back when I was in LA, I had the opportunity, the biggest blessing opportunity to work with Lady Gaga's team. And I had a really good background of making dance music. Like, I used to work with Diplo. I used to work with Skrillex. I used to be signed to the biggest labels in EDM, in dance music. So I thought it was good. I thought it was like, oh, it's just the microphone. It's just, we're just going to hit record. It's vocals. Like, how can, I know how to do it. I know how to work plugins around. My mentor, his name is Fernando, comes to me one day. He's like, all right, you said that you know how to record vocals. Let's see what you got. He puts me in front of like this crazy SSL console.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what an SSL
I've
console
seen,
is?
yeah.
It's a console with like so many channels,
freaking channels,
buttons, stuff like that to control your speakers, microphones, and everything. I start recording someone, and in my head, I'm like, oh, this is so fire. This is so good. I'm like feeling proud. I kid you not. Like an hour later, like they were all in the back, sitting in the back of the seat, the room, and I'm in the console in the front, just doing my thing.
Yeah.
The moment I hit stop, and I'm like, okay, this is it. I like it. I turn back. Everyone, they were like, the phones, not surprised, nothing. And then I look at Fernando, and I'm like, what do you think? He's like, it's okay. Like, it's literally okay. And ever since then, I was like, wow, what did I do wrong? After that, I went to a 2-year training session with him and his team. Like just to cut vocals, record, direct the artist, direct the songwriter, lead the session. It's a whole different game than just making beats. Okay. And by year, like probably 14 months into the whole training session, I started cutting my first vocals, and I looked back into that session. Oh my God, it was so bad. That's when I realized, wow, they were right.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between beat makers and producers.
I mean, you've changed my life right now, just like even learning that, because now I'm starting to understand that a producer is like a director, because I come from the video production and like all that stuff. So yeah, the director pieces it together. But one thing that stood out from what you were saying is that a producer also picks the microphone. Like a lot of people don't understand the power of picking the right microphone for the right voice. Mm-hmm. Like I like these Shure SM7s because I have a more bassier voice and it makes me sound nice. Yeah. But some people may not sound right on these microphones. I've learned that throughout. I'm like a newbie, like beat maker or engineer. I like to learn about the music industry because it's good when I'm talking to the artists to help them like develop as well. But damn, man, like you've blown my mind. Just understanding that aspect of producing.
It's definitely a skill that not a lot of people have. Like it's hard to obtain because you have to. I would say the hardest part about being a really good producer, not a beat maker. You can be an amazing beat maker, but not be a good producer at all. Like one of the qualities of being an amazing producer is knowing how to interact with people in the room. Why? Because here's a good example, and this is from a personal example of mine. We were in a session with this group, the Black Eyed Peas, back in 2019, I believe, somewhere around that time. And one of the guys was like not having a good time. At that time, this girl had just joined the team from Black Eyed Peas. Her name is J Rey Soul, and you know, when you're an artist, you're doing so many things, you're getting distracted, you're touring, you're drinking, you're partying, all of these things. So for an artist to go to the studio after doing all of those things, it takes a lot of like energy and like a lot of willpower to just be like, oh, all right, I'm gonna go to the studio and see what comes out. So your job as a producer is to get them into that excitement feeling zone of like, yes, I want to work, I want to record. Oh my God, yes, turn on the mic right now. Like I have an idea. You have to be really good with what you say and how you interact with people in the studio, especially artists. You don't know if the artist is depressed. You don't know if the artist is feeling really happy. You don't know if the artist is angry. So you have to talk to them. Fernando would teach me this, Raul. You have to take 30 minutes from the session from the beginning to talk with the artist, joke around, read their body language, read their energy. Because if they're angry, you don't want to go in and just start telling jokes and like, yo, tell me about your life. Like this, no. You want to like empathize. You want to like, kind of see what's going on and match their energy. And then you bring that energy up as you progress with the conversation. If the artist is depressed, you want to do the same thing, like kind of empathize with them and be like, oh, you know what? Like I had something similar happen to me this time. And then you share a personal experience that is close to them. And then you start bringing the energy up. And then you're like, oh, I have an idea. Like, what if we, let's write a song about that guy that hurts your feelings. Like, what do you want to say? What do you want to talk? What do you want to tell this guy if you had him in front of you right now?
Damn.
Oh my God. You ask that question. Like, why do you do what you do right now? Oh my, you see, just like, oh, start writing
like,
stuff in it. Like everything that they want to say.
Yeah.
Be like, Jessica, go on the mic right now. Say it, spit everything that you want to say. And a song comes out of that.
Wow.
Like that's how songs, like genuine, really, really good songs come out. Just by personal experience, anger, stories, everything that the artist wants to just, get it out, but they don't know how to get it out. You as a producer have to know how to get it out by asking the right questions and framing them in the right, situation, position to get it out. So,
dude, any beat makers out there that want to be producers, Raul's dropping game right now. Like, this is not just industry information. Like, you're giving them soft skills. Like, these are people skills. Yeah. Like, I feel like a lot of people I have met in the creative arts industry, and that music, video production, photography, whatever. I think a lot of us lack focusing on those things because human beings are human beings. And if you're going to go through a creative process, it's a vulnerable thing. So if you can't read a person and you can't be able to like connect with someone in a way where you can create collaboratively, I feel like you're not helping the process out. Yeah. Right? You got to be that aware of what role you play. Yeah. And like you've just painted a light on what a producer does that I don't think anybody's heard. Like that level of dedication that you're putting in is different. You don't hear
this unless you're like in the game, like you're playing in the field, like for me, I got so lucky, like, and we can talk about how I got with Fernando. It's a whole different story, but I got so lucky. I took long story short, 3 planes back and forth to LA from Texas because I was living in Texas. If you're listening to this, Fernando, and you already know this, but he canceled me 3 times. I met this guy back in 2018. My friend Davey Nate, he brought me into the session with them. I literally had just quit music like 6 months ago. He brought me in, and Nate just resisted me. Brought me back to live music. Yo, you're coming to do music. But these are the things that you learn from being in the field. Like you have to have a mentor show you these things because there's no courses. I thought I knew everything. I watched every tutorial on YouTube. I watched everything else, but you have to be with someone to teach you these things. And back to the point where like, you're trying to connect with the artist and you're trying to read the room. It's like you connect in a way where when they tell you something, you don't tell them a story back so that they can hear you as well. It's like when they throw you a ball, you don't throw the ball back. When they throw you a ball, you talk about the ball that they throw you. Oh yeah, this ball is this and that, and like you elaborate from what they threw at you because they feel hurt. After they feel hurt, then they start trusting you more. Mm-hmm. They start opening up a little more, and that's how you start writing a good song.
I love it. So, you're dropping some serious game. Like I feel like these people, just listening to it, I know that you're a very busy man, and you're probably not open to doing your own university or academy yet. I say yet.
Here's the thing. I won't open my university, but I would definitely help up and coming producers because I was one of those guys. I'm still learning. I'm still going. I'm still like doing my thing. But I remember that feeling of like wanting to like get to the next level, but not knowing how to do it. So sure, like I won't dedicate my life to teaching in front of people, schools or whatever, but whoever comes up to me, I will be more than happy to like guide them like, hey, do this, do that, like here's how you do it, because, sharing knowledge, it's good. It's like you feel good about yourself as well. There's nothing new under the sun, so why you should like keep it a secret,
No, you're definitely inspiring me, man. There's a lot of stuff that you're doing in the music side that I kind of want to like internalize and see what I can do to help out, because I was there too, taking pictures and learning from YouTube University. That's, it's kind of like the
whole life
game
is YouTube, man.
and the life that we live, right?
Yeah.
I know that someone like yourself that's like very ambitious, you're aware, you're self-aware, you're doing great things in the industry that you're in. There's probably some innovative things you're working on. And there might be some things that you have in your idea bag that you can't share. But is there anything you could tell us innovative that you're trying to change the game?
Yes. So there's a couple things, a few things that I shouldn't talk about, but like a couple things that I think
don't
I
get
can
in
talk
trouble.
about,
Just share what
a
you
little
can.
bit, but basically right now I'm in the process of creating this brand new company to connect basically bedroom producers, people like myself 15, 20 years ago, to top professionals like industry people, and just be able to discover talent. Because I realize that, yes, like we are talented, but we also have to be connected. We have to be at the right place at the right time. There is a book called The Outliers. I don't know if you heard about this book.
Yes.
So one of the reasons why Bill Gates became Bill Gates isn't because, he, got lucky. Well, he actually did get lucky in a way, but his mom used to be a librarian at the only library in the U.S. back in the day where they had the number one supercomputer, like the size of this whole back box. So the mom would allow him to go to the school after school and use the computer for free because she was the librarian. So Bill Gates took that and just utilized it to learn how to code. So that's why he became Bill Gates. So in the Outliers book, they talk about being at the right time. So not at the right time, yes, at the right time, but also being surrounded by the right people. So that's one of the things with anything that you do, like if you're a video editor, if you're a producer, if you are an entrepreneur, you have to kind of go and associate with the people that also have similar interests and that might be able to help you out. In this case, in order for a producer to become successful, yes, you can send demos through emails and Instagram DMs and stuff like that, but there's nothing better than being in the room with the people.
Yeah.
Because being around other producers, being around other super big songwriters, you're just exposing yourself to many, many more opportunities. Okay, maybe one day this guy will need something. He already knows who I am. And you just keep yourself like fresh in their mind, in their heads. But if you're a bedroom producer and you keep sending emails, it's not personal. Like it doesn't feel personal to anybody. So they just might read it and they ignore it,
Skip over it,
delete or whatever. But we're trying to make a platform where we can scout and find talent from all over the world and help those kids get placements. I don't want to call it kids, but it could be anything. It could be young entrepreneur people, super producers, whatever. Just help them get placements if they're on the other side of the world or if they live in the middle of nowhere, like I used to live back in Texas. Get placements, facilitate the process, to them.
Connecting those people.
Connecting those people together.
Wow. Talk about like really opening the doors for people that maybe don't have access to the connections. There's a lot of gatekeeping in this industry. Let's just keep it real.
A lot.
Right? There's a lot of that. And I feel like you're little by what you just said there, you're knocking down that wall.
But now that you said gatekeeping, let me give you guys a tip. It's a crazy tip that I just found out this past year, 2023. If you want to get something from that's what we are as people. We're trying to always grow in whatever industry that we want, whether we want to connect, whether we want to date a specific person, whatever we want. We're always trying to sell ourselves, right? If you want to get something from someone, don't ask. Come in with value. Provide value first. Whatever it is that you think you might be able to benefit them, just bring that to them. Study the person before talking to them. See who they are, what they want, what they might want, and then provide that type of value. Never provide something that they already have. A good example is I became a tech developer 3 years ago. I had no clue how much this was going to help me in the music industry until I was here. Yeah. Tech has opened so many crazy doors. I'm talking about like the biggest investors in the music industry, the biggest labels, the biggest influencers, the biggest managers through tech, because it allows me to provide value to those people by, you know, helping them out with their tech projects, with their businesses, or whatever they want to build, you know, and not just coming up to them and be like, hey, here's my demo. Like, can you listen to it? You know, it's like, no, you're coming in with them and just providing and adding value to them, you know?
That's awesome.
So think about ways that you can add value to people, and it's going to change the whole dynamic for you. You're going to start seeing so many doors being open like to you without even having to ask. You're going to come up to you, is like, what else do you do? Like, oh yeah, by the way, I make music. Show me. Boom, there you go.
That's awesome. That's great advice that you gave, man. Oh man, you've shared so much good nuggets in this episode. I'm sure we're going to have many more sit downs so that you could share some more stuff, because you are one hell of an onion, man. There's a lot of cool stuff that you've been involved in, especially that last bit that you just shared about being in the tech industry. Like, I'm sure you've dabbled in some maybe startups.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Three
startups.
One successful exit, so it's good.
One of them is already
before that, it's like 4 or 5 unfinished ones, like that I tried to like put together but never, you know, like I was never able to figure out how to, like, you know, put it out into the world. But successfully 1 and 2 failed ones, you know. Damn. And now on to my next one, which is
on to the next one, as they say. Success, you know? It will. I mean, based on everything you've told me right now, man, it's like, if anyone is sitting there questioning why they're not lucky, they're not understanding that luck comes with hard work, and you got to put in the reps. And it's like, you've put in some reps. Yeah. You've sacrificed some things to get to where you are right now. Yeah. And I'm sure that there's a long trajectory left in front of you for you to start changing some things, man.
You have to try everything. Like, that's it. Like a lot of people think that just by trying a couple times and doing a specific thing, they're gonna get an answer. Like, no, you have to try 1,000 times. It only has to work once. A lot of people get discouraged because it doesn't work on the first one or the second one or the third one or even the fourth one. But it's like that, like saying from Neil deGrasse, what's his name?
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah. He's like, you go to the ocean and you get a cup of water. You get water out of the ocean. You look at it. Oh, there's no whales. Of course there's not going to be no whales because they're not there. Like, you got to keep going deeper and like until you find them, you know? Same thing with anything that you do. It's like, if you try the first time you fail, second time you fail, of course you're going to keep failing because you haven't gone deep enough. Eventually you will find it. You will hit it. And I feel like I'm at that point where I'm finally starting to like hit it after 15 years.
Nice.
15 years. And
nice.
It's been a long time.
That's amazing, man. You've left me inspired. I'm definitely inspired and motivated now. I'm going to be hitting the ground running in my industry. But I definitely want to have more combos with you. Tell people where they can find you at.
They can find me on Instagram at YGVice. And yeah, that's about it. In person. Maybe you run to me to a show. I'll come say hi.
Formula 7, maybe.
Formula 7 Studios is my home. So yeah, just, you know, if you see me at a show, just come say hi. I'm a cool guy. You know, just have Instagram. That's it. And a text.
And that's it.
If you can find my phone, text.
If you got his phone number, you're in. Okay, just letting you know right now. You've been tuned into another episode at the Formula Room at Formula 7 Studios. My name is Angel. You can find me at Famous Angel on IG. Besides that, we'll see you on the next episode. Peace.